Why is it that many people don't even want to hang out Africans? You know, they don't want to go around, saying they belong to any African communities anymore. So I just believe that we cannot pretend that there is no hypocrisy in our community and keep doing the same thing and expect a better outcome. It won't happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Bassey, comment.
The comment is well noted. To me, hypocrisy is in all societies. I've experienced it. My husband schooled here, and his friends were of a mixed crowd. And I experienced that firsthand. The hypocrisy, the jealousy, it wasn't just limited. Madam Lara has had her hand up.
Yes. Madam VP, that's Madam CEO.
Good evening, Dr. O.
Good evening, ma.
Dr. Bassey, wonderful conversation. Nonetheless, there's no perfect prescription for marriages and for raising a child. If you have a successful marriage, just hit the ground and thank your God. Because, there are so many great men out there that are running to the hand of incompatible women. Not that the women are bad, just incompatibility. That's one of the things I see as the challenges. Especially when you marry in Nigeria or you marry a Nigerian and you come here, the environment here is different. The expectation is different. And you see a lot of Nigerians that are married to Americans. The way they behave is different than the way they will behave to fellow Nigerians. And with the children too, we grew up with fear to a lot of degree. You dare not talk back when your parents talk and whatever, but that philosophy does not work here. You have to listen to your children. You have to balance it. You have to let them express themselves. So when you have successful children, just thank your God, because there's so many dynamics that goes into rearing children or having a good marriage. There are many single women here in the United States, and I give them credit, that have raised fantastic children. And there's so many couples who have not been fortunate, including some pastors. Just because they are too scream, it's just all about religiosity, and they don't recognize those children as individuals. Just do as I say. Like Dr. Ajagbe said, there are a lot of double standard, even in our own outlook on the things. You want to be a Nigerian, half of you, then you want to act European, the other half. Dr. O mentioned 3 things that should happen in the bedroom. She said prayer. That is the first resort to having a successful marriage, successful relationship, successful rearing of children. Without prayer, you cannot, there's no such thing as being lucky, but without prayer, you cannot succeed. So it's a lot of difference for people who pray, parents who pray. So it makes a lot of difference, especially when you have the husband and the wife praying for their marriage and praying for their children, because those who put their trust in the Lord will not be put to shame. So there's a place for our academics or whatever we have become or achieved in life, but let us go back to the very, very first thing, trusting in the Lord with all of our heart and praying through every situation. Nothing is off the table, because the world has changed. I don't even want to say it's changing. It has changed. So we have to be observant. We have to be attentive. And it's not going to be so much about your instruction or a list of do's and don'ts that you give to your children that will make them succeed. No. You start with prayer and you hope that they're listening. You hope that God sends help to them in some other ways. You hope they get it. You hope they make the right decision at every crossroad. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that input. Sister Monique said, it goes back to education and truly understanding who hurt the most from adverse behavior between the spouses. She said she was raised that no matter what transpired with her son's dad, never talk bad to her son about his dad. She never did until her son was grown and understood things for himself. She said her grandmother also taught her, no matter how things got with her son, never give up on him and to always show unconditional love. She did, no matter how some days she didn't like him. She loved him always, but sometimes did not like him. Lastly, I have to laugh about that. Lastly, knowing the friends is key because at some point they will hear their friends' voices more than their parents. These are all key. But I had to laugh at that. Dr. Bassey, I had to laugh because I remembered when my children were growing up, I used to tell them that it doesn't matter what they do, I will love them. And I still hold true to that. No matter what, I would love my children. But I tell them I don't have to like them. It is what they do.
True.
How they behave. The kind of man they become is what will make me like them. And I praise God today that I love and I like them. But that's because of them that liking came. And so I had to laugh at what Monique said. Thank you so much for the wisdom you just shared there. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
And Dr. Ogunleye, to Dr. Ajagbe's, hypocrisy question, said, but there's nothing wrong with not displaying your dirty laundry in public. Having conflicts and resolving it in front of the children is actually good life lessons. They won't grow up with the impression that marriage is all rosy. And that is so true and so key. And, I wanted to...
It depends on how you resolve it.
Mm-hmm.
If you are resolving it by throwing things at each other, cursing each other, using the F word, breaking the TV, which sometimes has happened in some situations, then it's not healthy for the child's psyche. Yeah. But if you're going to discuss in a calm, rational manner, then definitely the kid will learn from it. And the kid will learn self-control and self-discipline. That, okay, even in times of conflict, I don't have to throw things. I don't have to try to break someone's head. I don't have to pick the knife. I can talk and talk things through. Because right now, what we lack is the ability to role play, is the inability to discuss, is the inability to talk to each other. Everybody thinks everything should be happy, happy.
And, you're right. Thank you. And Dr. Ogunleye actually said definitely. So, what Dr. Ajagbe said, I don't see anything wrong there's an argument in the car on the way to church where you go to church. Are you going to then get to church and then still continue fighting in the presence of the public? No. You're going to then meet your friends and, church members and all, and you're going to mingle with them and be happy. So I don't see anything wrong with that. It's depending on, I don't know what kind of argument occurred in the car, and hopefully there were no foul languages and stuff like Dr. Bassey said. That's going in another direction. Dr. Veronica, you had your hand raised. Kindly unmute and speak, so I don't have to read what you wrote.
You got me there. I was trying to escape talking. So thank you for this enriching conversation and kind of a reminder for each other that there are many ways to create that balance. I just wanted to, and I want to say thank you to you, Mrs. Bassey. Thank you so much, Dr. Bassey. I want to add that in all that we say, the prayer is absolutely the center of it all. But we tend to come with what we were raised as, which is that the adult talks and the children listen, and we just give you a list of how to do things. But do we ever really hear the children and listen? Listening is critical. If you have children who are successfully children you like and love, like Dr. O said, it's because we also have to remember that part of teaching our children is listening to them. Otherwise, we miss the mark. That's one on children, and as well as spouses. Do we listen, or do we just already have all the answers? So that I just want to remind that the role modeling we need to show to our children, which is definitely what's critical in raising them successfully, is that listening. The other part is that relationships aren't 50-50. Sometimes they're 100-0, and sometimes they're 80-20. But at each point that we remember what's important is the balance of your family, and do everything. And it's not a contest, but that sometimes you have to give a lot, especially women. But eventually it all pays off for the children, for your spouse, for your family, for your work-life integration. I just want to throw that part of the conversation in. Thank you. And thank you, Dr. O, as usual. We feel our minds and our souls. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sis. Samsung, SM, kindly unmute and introduce.
Good morning, ma.
Good morning. That's my bro. Good morning. Welcome all the way from Nigeria.
Sorry, I'm coming up late.
It's all good.
I came back very late, so I was stressed out. I missed the conversation, but I can pick few things from what the contribution of some of the participants. I just want to chip in that attitudes are made. You make yourself, and parenting is very, very essential. Parents need to make role models for their children. Whatever you think should not be done, lead by example. Children learn from what they see from their parents. So couples should learn how to understand themselves, tolerate themselves, endure themselves, particularly for the sake of parenting. Culture has a big role to play, because the way African culture presents itself is different from the Western culture. The way we cherish respect here is different from how the West takes it. So in Africa, it's quite easy for us to teach our children the way and manners by which you address people. Here we know that parenting children is not, or does not come from the parent alone. The whole culture, the whole environment, people in that community take up the responsibility, just like the parents. And the children grew up with that mindset. So what makes an individual is the mindset. You capture the mindset, give them the necessary training, they grew up with it. And that is what they take as norms. But if you give too much freedom to your children, that you don't learn how to say no to everything that they demand for is yes, I think that does not make the best out of them. So what I want to say is, it's always good to let our children know the limits by which they can exercise their freedom. That not everything you respond to, that you have to tolerate people in order to live amidst these people. You live in a society, you are not the only one. Your freedom has a limit. Where your freedom stops is where another person starts. So you don't have to be loose at everything. So for the couple, I believe understanding, endurance, Ms. Damen. So that if you don't learn how to tolerate each other and understand, because there are times when your wife may be provoked, that you have to hang up for her, at least tolerate her amidst of your children, so that your children could learn better. So I believe we have to moderate whatever we do and try as much as possible to curtail our temperament. That will go a long way in parenting our children. Thank you very much. You are welcome, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, you're in Nigeria, and I know you missed some of the segment. The village raising a child is so important. Dr. Bassey stressed that and used our children, our cohort here, as an example, because she actually lives a little bit further away from some of us here, but still brought her children to be raised together with our children in this area. And so raising children together is key. Thank you so much for your input. I just wanted to mention that one segment that you mentioned also. We've been encouraged to do that. And the reason we're having this conversation, I would remind us, is because we've seen a lot of mental health issues amongst children. Not only the children here overseas in the diaspora, but also in Nigeria. Suicide rate has gone up. Dr. Bassey talked about, the place where they're committing suicide a lot now, that they've, even nicknamed, given a suicide name, right, Dr. Bassey?
Yeah.
Nigeria.
And
So
drugs, tummy talk, actual unhappiness in our youths. The affluent ones are going in for tummy talk and butt lift and breast lift. I mean, we're Black. We already got the natural curves. What
yeah.
else are you going to add on? It's just the natural unhappiness they've inherited from watching too much TV and soap opera and everything else. Dissatisfaction with everything in life.
Mm-hmm. And it all stems also from the parents. Parents are getting hooked on these gadgets too and not spending time to take care of the children. Dr. Ethel Isiano Mitchell said, "Thank you, Dr. Bassey, for an important and helpful discussion. Parents from our African communities should please remember to bring up our children the way we were brought up." She said she's Ghanaian and she brought up their two children in their faith and importance of respecting adults and focusing on their education. So thank you for doing that, because when you raise yours well, that's our community. That's our community that you're building. And Dr. Guleye said she thinks we can all agree that the outcome of an upbringing is the final determinant as to whether the upbringing is positive or not so positive. Looking at yesteryear's children operating as adults and leaders in Africa today, she begins to wonder if this upbringing we so proudly speak of is really what it's cracked out to be. Whew.
Well, that one is
Yeah.
more of
Yes.
the failure of leadership and
Greed
lack of
and greed.
yes, greed and not loving your country. So that one is more of a disease of the affluent. We're talking of the regular day-to-day child and how we can bring them up to survive and everything. What we have in Africa today is, don't let me veer in that direction because I can write a dossier on that. The leaders are selfish, they are self-centered, they are greedy, and they have raised their children to be such. and they are thieves. Let's not miss the boat there. They steal the money, they take it abroad and hide it in Swiss accounts that they can never pass on to their children. Their children are taught to be greedy as well. So they don't care about the population. So we cannot compare those ones to the children we are trying to raise, the day-to-day kids, the leaders. These ones form 1% of the population. And it's also part of the problem that is leading these kids to suicide and drugs in Africa, because cost of living is high. They can't afford to eat well. They can't afford to go to the schools they want to go to. There's poverty, lack of opportunity. They finish school, there are no jobs. You know, so that is another kettle of fish in and of itself.
However, the children of the leaders too, I heard, I don't know, are into drugs. They have the money.
Yeah,
And
but that's because they have too much money. Good for their parents too. You know, when you dig a grave for somebody else, you're gonna fall into it. So I don't have any pity for them, because if they did the country well to serve the people, their kids will learn the right things.
so
Can I come in? Can I come in?
just one, yes, sir, but just 1 second, sir. You
All
come in.
right.
I just wanted to say Dr. Gunleye followed that. Maybe you will talk about that, sir. That,
Yeah,
but
their
leaders,
parents did not fail them. The culture did not fail them. They are just greedy. They
yes,
grew up to embrace greed.
and they did. Papa, go ahead, sir.
Train up a child the way he should go. And when he grows up, he will not depart from it.
Amen.
All the crooks in government were raised from homes. The parents, by and large, failed in raising them well. If they did their duties, they will raise them like Samuel of old, like Timothy of old. So, parental leadership at home, by and large, has failed in many places in Africa, whether Christian or Muslim or pagan, and so on. When you put your hand into a basket to take a marble, and most of the marbles are green, the probability that you will take green is very high. So the leadership we have now is a reflection of how the society is from the bottom to the top. Very, very poor people can be very wicked and selfish and greedy and cunning. So the solution out is for...
You are muted, sir.
To be godly and God-fearing, to be disciplined, because children watch their parents. What we are is what our children are likely to be when they grow up. Good morals from the beginning, fear of God, will always play out. That's what I want to say.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. I know Dr. Bassey agrees with you. And I agree. Right, Dr. Bassey? So, Dr.
I should stop what I'm doing.
No, you shouldn't stop. You were good, sir.
Okay.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
We appreciate you, sir.
We thank God.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Bassey, comment.
Well, I'll let that pass. That's another conversation for another time.
Okay. So Dr. Fawole said Thank you so much, Dr. Bassey and Dr. O, for another insightful session. We live in a different era, totally different from the way we were raised, and we must be purposeful in our parenting. Being intentional about our purpose, goal, and God-given responsibility to our children will drive our choices and actions. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Fawoli. Comment? Dr. Bassey.
No, that's a very valid point. That's a very valid point. We have to be intentional in everything that we do.
We have to be. And I agree with Papa that even, people in leadership that have failed is still part of failed parenting. Parenting is key. It's what you learn. And there's something also that we need to mention. It was mentioned briefly by someone. Peer pressure is another thing, that it's very important. But when you parent well, you actually protect the children from, wrong peer influences. Because I saw that when my children were growing up, where they would bring their friends home and say, hey, I told him this, what they have learned at home, and he said this. So what do you say, Mom? And I sit them down and we have a dialogue, that to let the peers know, but it's because they had solid background and they are sure of what they have learned at home. If they don't have that, there would have been problems. So Dr. Guleye said, fear of God must supersede fear of an elder or fear of a leader. She thinks that's where society dropped the ball. We instill so much fear in the youth that they can't challenge bad behavior when they say it. Elderly peers don't call each other to order in an elders' council anymore.
And the kids these days are beginning to ask questions, and they ask questions of the elders as well. In those days, we did ask questions of elders, but the young ones have questions of elders. Now, I have a slightly different opinion about our leaders. Some were raised in good homes, but the Africa we see now, and that's just my own opinion. I did student politics, so I'm quite familiar with politics, The Africa we have, the leaders are very selfish, and also they bring religion into leadership. And the religion they bring is not the good kind. It is not the pure religion, whether it's Islam or Christianity. They bring ethnicity into leadership. They bring oppression. Oh, my ethnic group is in charge, so I have to hire everybody from my ethnic group, whether they're qualified or not. I don't think that has to do with the parents, because at that point, some of them are also influenced by international community, where they are doing things at the behest of other nations. That's why I say that conversation is another thing for another time. We had the Fulani crisis, the Fulani herdsmen going in to terrorize people, driving people from farms. That's why we have hunger in Nigeria today. They were not cautioned. They were not reined into order because the leader was Fulani. But now it's coming back to haunt him. They just ransacked his Katsina state and killed people there. So we can't blame his parents for that. They did their job years ago.
Wow. They just ransacked Katsina? I didn't hear that.
They killed some people there. Wow. The vice president was there to commiserate with him. The chicken has come home to roost.
Wow. What goes around comes around. Thank you so very much for this robust, much needed conversation, which, I felt was important to start our Women's History Month, because the woman is very critical in the home, and raising our children is, or raising them right, should be, paramount, should be at our, at the forefront of all we do. So thank you for this conversation. Thank you for the wealth of knowledge and information you have given us. And I pray that the Lord would help us. There is something that I left till now. One of our sisters says that she has a 14-year-old and is actually looking for a way out some of the things that we did when the children were growing up. She will be interested in doing. Sister Flo, she says she has a 14-year-old and it's challenging, that she's willing to be part of a parent group to, I guess, to learn and to know how to navigate. The teen years can be tough, especially if the foundation has not been solid. But not all is lost yet. So I'm going to say here that please, if you have teenagers or your grandma that have teenage grandchildren, reach out to me, please, by text, private chat, or email, so that, we can then bring you all together and see how we can foster a parenting segment of Medical Mondays with Dr. O, and, carry on this conversation and be able to help each other. We have experience. There's so much we have done before. Dr. Bassey, Dr. Aguna, Dr. Obisheson, Dr. Nwandu, we have experience. We have things that we can teach. Then Shola Bademosi, with the Howard County school systems.
Yes.
Then I brought her in when I started the Nigerian Parents of Howard County. She's a gem, a wealth of everything. She's a counselor in the school system. She knows how to handle difficult situations. And so we still have those resources that we can bring together. Please reach out so that, we have Sister Flo already. We have a member of that group already. And we'll be able to do tangible things and, be able to intervene in these young ones.
Miss Mary is indicating that she wants to join the group too.
Oh, Mary. Fantastic. Mary, yes, I know Mary. Thank you. It is, okay, fantastic. Fantastic. Yeah, the children, you're going to have a teenager soon. Perfect time, to get them ready. I have suggestion here that also bring the parents with successful children. Yeah, that definitely. We have tools. We have tools.
That's what we did actually.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, that's what we did. And we will do that. Please reach out if you have other people who were not here tonight and who that will be interested in being part of this or should be. Please reach out, let us know so we can get that going. So, Dr. Bassey.
And in final closing,
yes, I was going to call
this is a topic that is very uncomfortable to African parents. We have gender issues among our kids. We have to sit them down and discuss and have an honest discussion. Some of these things, gender identification, gender issues, some of these things are also contributing to the suicide.
Yes, it is. And, we've had that on Medical Mondays. We will again, because it's been a minute since we had that discussion. And we actually brought, some of ours that, are, lesbians, MSM, we brought them on the platform. and we had a robust conversation. We'll do that again. So here it says, as a school nurse, that she used to challenge parents to visit their CHN schools, their children's schools, is what I think. They can take time to attend funeral, but cannot take time off to visit their children's schools. That is important, you know, PTAs and all. We never missed it. Dr. Bassey,
We never missed it. We never missed it.
I used to cook Teacher Appreciation Day. I used to go there,
Yes.
go cook, you know, cook for them on campus, cook for the teachers.
They learned to eat suya in Montgomery County
Yes,
schools
oh
and
my
akara
God.
and
We were
moi.
hands-on. We were hands-on because the children were there. We had to participate. You are absolutely right. So if you please give us your closing remarks.
Okay, thank you very much for this meeting of the minds. Thank you for the leadership. Thank you for bringing the community together. Even now that I know you have this Medical Mondays, I will endeavor to attend as a listener. It's very encouraging. Thank you for thank everybody for listening in and tuning in. And I hope we will be able to distribute this video to community leaders and to the young ones, younger adults, the Gen Zs and the Gen Xs, so they can listen to it. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me as well. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate you greatly. Guess what? Today is very special that you came on because Medical Mondays with Dr. O started 3 years ago, March 1st. And this is the first, this is the first conversation we're having in March, you know. So Medical Mondays is exactly 3 years old. I can't believe it, how time flies. Isn't it amazing? And
Celebrate good times. Come on. We have to dance.
And, you know, within those 3 years, I met one of our sisters, Sister Clementina, who actually went into nurse practitioner school and then, you know, came to us. I precepted her. So I praise God that I was part of her journey. And I'm so grateful that now she's all done and she started her own health and mental services where, you know, she offers, you know, mental health services to people who need it. I posted that in the chat box. Please look at our email, our phone number in the chat box, because what we're discussing tonight has a lot to do with mental health. And a lot of people need mental health intervention. We have one of ours who is now certified and has a practice where you can go to get that. So that's Chidera Health and Mental Health Services. The email is info@chideram.com and the phone number is 240-978-7515. So please reach out for your mental health needs over there. And thank you so much for the happy anniversary greetings. Thank you. Happy 3 years anniversary to Medical Mondays with Dr. O that has become a melting point and a great reservoir of knowledge. Thank you, Dr. Alu. Much appreciated. Thank you.